Welcome to That Entrepreneur Life, a podcast about entrepreneurship that takes you from idea to launch and beyond. Each week, your hosts, Andrew Lees and Clint McPherson, discuss different business topics aimed at adding value to any entrepreneur's journey.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of That Entrepreneur Life. I'm Andrew Lees, and I'm normally joined by my co-host, Clint McPherson. But today I'll be flying solo. We've got a very special guest on the show today. He's a serial entrepreneur with multiple successful exits. He has an ultimate secret weapon to scale startups, and which he'll be sharing. So you're going to want to stick around and hear what he has to say. Before I introduce our special guest today, I want to remind you to subscribe to our podcast and to our mailing list through our website so you don't miss out on all the free resources we have to help you start and grow your business. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our special guest, Joseph Fung, to the show today. How are you doing, man?
Really good, Andrew. Thanks for having me. This should be a fun chat.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we were just chatting offline a little bit, and I couldn't wait to hit the record button because we were talking about some really interesting things about corporate culture. So I'm really excited to dig into this. So before we get started with everything, take us back to when your entrepreneurial journey started, and what is it about entrepreneurship that really gets you fired up?
Yeah, I'm really lucky in that I came from one of those cliched households where parents were very entrepreneurial. Really were enablers.
That's cool.
My mother ran a financial services business. My father ran a mechanical contracting. So if you think about those ducts that Bruce Willis climbs through in the movies, like he installed that kind of stuff.
Yeah, HVAC type thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Cool.
And so for me, my first business was actually desktop publishing. So I was designing business cards, ads, brochures for their businesses and others. And what got me started was that choice of like, hey, fast food minimum wage job, or let's do some desktop publishing and charge $50 an hour.
Yeah. It's kind of a no-brainer, right?
Totally. I mean, and tough lessons too. I mean, when you're working a fryer, you don't have to handle collections. You don't got to, chase down suppliers. You don't have to deal with customers who aren't happy. So great lessons. And I think that really galvanized me to enjoy that journey. And I haven't stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to learn on, and you're learning everything on the job as an entrepreneur. But I think it's really cool that your one of your first businesses was coming up with a service to help your parents with their businesses, right? That's pretty cool.
Oh, very much. But I mean, I can't take credit for the idea. It really came down to my parents saying, "Hey, you're good at these computers things, and we need some ads, or we need brochures, or new magnets." Right. And I said, "Hey, great, happy to do that. Here's how much it'll cost you." They were okay paying for that.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well, I mean, I think that's really cool to have parents like that who understand that life, the entrepreneur life, and who want to, help their kids on that journey and teach them about that kind of thing. Because I honestly think I think it's a really important skill to be able to sell, to have some kind of grip on your finances and money at a young age. And I think it just money gets a bad reputation, and people don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to talk about it with their kids. And what happens is, I think, the kids kind of grow up and they have no idea about business. They have no idea about money. I was a mechanical engineer, or I am a mechanical engineer, right? But I went to college and studied mechanical engineering and went through that whole thing and thought I was pretty smart, but I got through 4 years of it, graduated, and I understood the value of a dollar to a certain degree. And that was definitely instilled in me. But I didn't really have a good grip on finances and business and all that kind of stuff. So if you can learn that from an early age, that's really awesome.
Totally. And I think having entrepreneurial parents makes it a lot easier to teach not just the impact of money and how you handle it, but what you do with it. I think my parents' balance of kind of volunteerism and philanthropy on the one hand and entrepreneurship on the other has made me a more responsible entrepreneur. And I see that even in the way we teach our own kids. I mean, a dollar a dollar earned is great, but what do you do with that dollar? You know, are you donating
Sure.
it? Are you investing it? Are you helping others? And that's been something that's exciting to instill in our companies and in our family. So that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. So you started a business. You've had several businesses along the way, but now recently you've started a business called Uvera. Am I pronouncing that right?
Uvaro, but pretty much,
okay.
If people want to sign up and join, we'll take whatever the pronunciation is.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's it. So what got you started with that? And can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with that?
Sure. So immediately before Uvaro, I've gone through 5 tech companies, starting, scaling, selling them. Some we only got to a dozen people, some we got to a couple hundred. It was a good mix, but consistently throughout all of them, building a highly effective sales team was always the toughest challenge.
Okay.
I'm a computer engineer. Building the software, let's build that. Let's get it out. That's fun. Building a sales force, that's tough. With Uvaro, we recognized a big gap. Our most recent company was building sales software. And as we were working with sales teams, we saw all of these people who were unemployed or underemployed, left behind in industries like retail, hospitality, HVAC, and all these tech companies who were struggling to hire effective salespeople, and they weren't investing anything in training. So we launched Uvaro to help bridge that gap. So it's a boot camp. We help people in customer-facing roles in other industries.
Okay.
We teach them the jargon, the lingo of technology, and pair them, introduce them to tech companies to join sales roles there. And it's been incredible. It's been a life-changing business, not just for us, but for our customers. And
sure,
it's so fulfilling.
That's so cool. So, I mean, especially when you can have a business that really helps people along their journey and empowers them, right, to take that next step in their career. So how did you, when you first got started, how was the process of figuring out the viability of the service? Because that's the trickiest thing, right? Is when you first start, you're passionate about this idea, that there's something there. You may already have a couple clients lined up, but then really getting more traction, getting a few more customers, and getting to this, to the scale that makes sense to really run the business. How did that process go for you? How did you learn about it?
So ours had an interesting wrinkle in that we were running the software company, this Kite, a sales software platform. We were running it, and we had 16 people. We're focused on it. And I've seen more entrepreneurs shoot themselves in the foot by trying to chase 2 things simultaneously than ever. So for us, we didn't think about it as, how do we also add this? Really, we tried to actually compartmentalize it. Like, if we really want to test the viability of it, let's kind of put it in its own box. Let's test it out. So we launched a separate second website, super sketchy looking. I mean, there was no contact information. There was no name. The domain was registered anonymously. We really wanted to say, hey, we don't want people to buy or sign up for this because it's Joseph's company or it's Kite's company or it's all this, network affinity. We said, let's see if the value prop resonates. So we stood up
and separate it. You didn't want it.
Totally.
Yeah. You wanted to start it kind of from scratch, figure out
100%.
Okay.
And the name was, it was just whatever domain name was available. I think we had like upfactors.com or something. And the website, like the value proposition, was deliberately, a little bit sketchy. It was like, hey, let's raise the bar. Let's make this as difficult as possible for us. It was like, hey, take the course, no money up front, land an amazing job in tech. And again, there's no contact information, no credibility. There's no customers. There's no testimonials.
Right.
We wanted to see, is there a need? Because we knew companies needed talent and we felt confident that we could help impart the right knowledge. The question was, are there people that wanted to get into tech? And that sketchy website, before we even launched our first class, had over 800 signups.
Wow.
I know. And now we're a little over a year later. We're about 14 months later. And regularly we get about 2,500 people signing up a month. We don't enroll everybody in the program. It's quite a selective process, but wow, there's a lot of people who are looking to get in tech. And the fact that we get to make even a small dent in that is amazing. It's such a privilege.
That's incredible. Yeah. So just to get a little bit tactical about how you got those 800 people, how did you get them? And were you running Facebook and Instagram ads? Were you, LinkedIn? How did you get that initial batch of signups?
So the hypothesis was that people who were working in hospitality, tourism, or in declining industries like print publications and advertising might be open to a career shift. So we used a bunch of social networks, so Facebook, Twitter, where we can target based on demographic criteria. So are they in geographies that are suffering that type of systemic change? And then we also use networks like LinkedIn, where you can target professions and employers. And for that first batch, it wasn't a lot. Like, we didn't spend a lot of money. I think the total ad spend was something like $180. Really low ad spend.
To get 800 signups.
And it sounds
That's
ridiculous because it is. Yeah. I mean, we expected to spend, $500 to $1,000 to get to a critical mass of data. But the click-through rates, the demand was so high, it really caught us off guard. And that's what told us that this was something we had to pursue with more, verve and vigor.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, when you get that kind of reaction, first of all, you're getting, if you're spending that amount of money, getting that many signups, that your cost per click is super low. Mm-hmm. And then just as importantly, if not more important, is you're actually getting people then to take an action on your landing page or website, whatever that mm-hmm. is. What was your call to action? How were you getting people to, I'm assuming you were making it very frictionless for people to learn more or sign up. Somewhat.
Again, the purpose wasn't to get as many people up front as possible. The purpose was to validate demand. So there's a few things that we did add. Our application form. So it wasn't a buy now or sign up now. It was an apply now. So it was clear that there was an application. There's going to be some kind of evaluation. The application form wasn't too extensive. It was about 12 questions. But we also required people to fill out a personality assessment. Not a classification for in or out, but to figure out where people's strengths were, where were people coming from? Are they coming from a place of confidence, or are they coming from a place of being analytical? And that questionnaire was a good 20 minutes to fill that out. And so we required a lot of contact information, like from your phone number to your email address, LinkedIn if you had it, a bunch of questions about your employment and your earnings history, and then an actual profile assessment. And despite all of that, we still had a ridiculously high volume of demand. So all of those are very reaffirming thoughts. It's like, hey, this is a big enough problem. If enough people feel this need, it's not just a big opportunity, it's a big issue and something that has to be addressed. So a strong sense of imperative to pursue this.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I like that. I like the call to action of applying, and you actually, it's really important to, it's something that, especially when you're running ads, you really want to get like a low cost per click, and you really want to get as much action. You want to get as much engagement on your social profiles. You've got all these, like, as much as you fight it, you've got these vanity metrics in your head that you want to get a ton of clicks and just a lot of traffic, right? But you've really got to be able to take a step back and remember that it's not about getting the clicks. It's not about getting the engagement. It's about getting the clicks and engagement from the right people and from connecting with the right people. You'd rather have far fewer people who are going to take action and who are super interested, instead of having, thousands of people who are just like, Facebook's algorithm has figured out that they're click happy and they're going to click on anything that they see. And it's like, cool, you might have had a lot of clicks, and, but it might not be relevant. It's not useful for you.
A really good example of that, even to this date, our paid ads are generally an apply to our program, an enroll to our program. That's the call to action. And we use a lot of display networks, and some of the sites that post those ads are job boards. And so as a result, some of our lowest cost for clicks, the people who are most likely to click the button are people who are on a job board. They see a job posting and they think they're applying to the job because there's an ad that's been placed deceptively. And the reality is there's some job sites like Indeed that are really above board, and, they organize their site really well. But then there's a lot of job sites where they fill it with ads and place them in deceptive places just to get those ad clicks.
Yep.
And so one of the things we see right now is we do still get a lot of applications where they think they actually clicked on the apply button for a job. And so our application process has to spend a lot of time, confirming you're applying to an educational program, not to an actual job. And
right.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right about aligning not just to the click-through rate or cost per click, but what the net outcome is.
Definitely. Yeah, it's so important. So we talked about your secret weapon to scaling startups. I mentioned that in the intro. Can you tell us more about that and what that is? I mean, it sounds super juicy and interesting, but what is that, and how can we take advantage of that in our businesses?
For sure. So just to kind of set the stage, I do a lot of angel investing on the side. I do a lot of work with entrepreneurs, and whenever we talk about this, everyone's immediate reaction is a little bit of an eye roll. It's a little bit cliche because really the secret weapon is your company values, and it's really easy to dismiss that. Oh yeah, the values. It's that thing that I wrote down.
It's like whatever. What is the real secret, right?
Yeah. But you got to bear with me on it because the real nugget's not just writing them down, but what you do with them. And this is a profound thing because there's no books, there's no school, there's no course around how you leverage your company values, but there's some things you can do that will actually make it an incredibly powerful weapon, an understated one. The first that's really important is learning how to actually document them. And I don't mean by putting them up on the wall, and I don't mean just putting them in a company handbook, but how do you write about the values in a way that people see all the time? So things like if you're running all hands meetings, put them on the all hands meetings. If you're always sitting at the same computer, make sure you're putting them kind of right upside. If you take your laptop out for presentations, making sure you're putting on your desktop and getting all of your team members to do the same. Because the values should not be just something that's decoration. It's something that you should live with and be able to work to. And if you're seeing them every day, every moment, and when you look at them, if you find yourself ever saying, that's not kind of right, or that feels cliche, that tells you haven't written it down right. You got to refine it. It's that constant experience that you write them down and get them to the point where you can say, hey, I truly believe this. The second thing is you actually need to align all of your company policies and goals to those values. And here's a simple way to do it. I tell my staff, if you're ever working on a project or you're trying to prioritize your work or you're trying to follow a policy and you feel conflicted, you don't know what direction to choose, go back to our company values and use that framework to make your decision. Because if you use the values, you'll never get fired. Don't worry. Even if it's against the policy, that means our policy was wrong. Okay,
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to tell your people the values. The values are like your company's constitution. These are the immutable things, and so long as you follow them intrinsically, you're in a good spot. And then the last thing that's really, really important is you need to think through as a founder or entrepreneur, how do you enable your team to become the champions of those values? And and I don't mean just in terms of like high fives. Yeah, good job, champion the values. But think about what you do as a founder and then equip them to do the same. So things like you tell stories. And you say, hey, a good example, one of our company values, one of ours is honesty. And I tell the team about, one time one of my early employees stayed a little bit late after work. I'm still plugging away at the Honest. And I always had an open door policy. He walks in, I'm plugging away at the computer, sorry. And he goes, hey, Joseph, do you have a moment? Turn around. And he's like, I need to tell you, you're being a jerk. Okay. Like the first words I know. It's like, what? I'm trying to balance the books. I'm busting ass to make sure everyone's got payroll and you're calling me a jerk. And it's like, let it calm down a little bit. Face is red, but it's like, let the mind calm down. And he lets me know. He's like, hey, you say one of our company values is work-life balance. At the time we wrote it down. It's like more fun equals more good. He's like, but you're staying late every day. And the people see that and they feel like they shouldn't be going home. They all feel guilty all the time.
Pressure on them, right?
Yeah. And realizing like not only was that against our values, but also it comes across like being a jerk, like a hypocrite. It was really helpful. And I share that story because that helps me convey to my team that honesty is not just about not lying. It's about being complete in your truth. I ask each leader, each employee to reflect on our values and think about a time when they experienced that so they can tell that story. And so I'm enabling them to do what I do. Yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting. Yeah. Because you might not have, he was kind of calling you out, first of all, being honest, with himself and, what he was feeling, but then also kind of calling you out on, hey, maybe you're not being honest with yourself.
Totally.
And, living consistently with the values.
Yeah.
And that can be, I think that can be tough because you want to have that balance of, especially in your situation, you were trying to run the business, you had a lot to do. Mm-hmm. As a founder, there's plenty of times when it really sucks. It's just, there's a lot of work that needs to be done that you're not excited about, but there's plenty of times too where it's exciting. It's fun. It is the fun thing. So if you're talking about having more fun, sometimes the work is the fun part. Not always, I think a lot of times it's like people talk about it as either or. They hate work altogether, or, oh, I love it. I love it all the time. It's great. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely a balance. So, I mean, there's
you hit the nail on the head. Like, if you think about it, like, there as an entrepreneur, there's doing the work in the business, right? There's, and a lot of people enjoy that. That's why they get into it. A lot of craftspeople really value that. There's the work on the business. Like, how do you build a scalable structure? And a lot of entrepreneurs like that. There's a lot of work that gets lost in the middle, like administration, second guessing your team's decisions. No one ever enjoys that. And if you can get your values aligned the whole way down, like, you see them every day, so you know they're the right ones. You give people the autonomy, the power to make decisions based on the values. And then you equip your managers, your people to kind of spread the way those values could be used. You spend way less time second guessing decisions. You have more confidence in your team. And as a founder, you're spending more time on the things you like, whether that's doing the work, building the company, and just not second guessing your whole team.
Yeah, that's so important. And I can see that really being the secret to scaling, right? Because if you're able to outsource the work that you don't, want or need to do, you can scale the business. You can focus on really like what you like, but also the important things that you need to do as the owner of your business.
That's it.
And it'll allow you to scale. Because if you're, and I've been here before where, if you're like too into the weeds of, trying to figure out all of the details in your business, then it's really impossible to see this big vision. And really, it's really difficult to then scale because you're just, every day feels like you're putting out fires. You're doing the little things that
totally
they're super important, but probably shouldn't always be done by the owner.
And the reality is, like, if you spend time with any business coaches, reading any business books, you're going to get that advice of like outsource the work, like get a bookkeeper to do your bookkeeping, hire people to help with the customer support when you get there, hire HR, all of these things, you're going to get inundated with those. The challenge is that idea of a company culture, that's like the one thing you can't outsource. Like you just can't. And so the better you can get at scaling that, at spreading it, the faster your business will grow. And then everybody, your customers, your employees, your suppliers, they become fans.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful. You hear that adage, don't just build a company, build a movement. And you do that by spreading the culture.
Yep. And you've got to do that from the beginning. I heard How I Built This episode with Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia.
Nice.
And they have this really, really great company culture, great place to work. They really value that work-life balance and everything that's all about. But he was talking about company culture, and he mentioned that a CEO of another big corporation, came to him and asked him, "Hey, how do I do the same thing that you're doing in your business? How do I change my company culture?" And this guy, who's the CEO of a very large company, and Yvon said, "You don't. You're kind of done. Like it's too late for you, basically." So I think it's and I think it's so important to make sure that you're making that you're setting yourself up for success from the beginning with great values, like you said. I think that's so important.
I agree with that emphatically. I read there's a fantastic op-ed a couple of years back by, again, another tech CEO. I won't say who it is because he's just down the highway from where I am. And in his op-ed, he talked about, it's an entrepreneur and you can't make a company culture. It's a thing that emerges. And, then, once you get to like 60, 80, 100 people, that's when you bake it in, so you got to hire people because that culture is emergent. And I think that's the biggest load of crap, because what that tells me is that the CEO wasn't paying attention to culture until he got to 80, 100 people and went, oh crap, I got to get it in line. Like that interview you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they think, I got to get some ping pong tables and arcade games. And all of a sudden it's, trying to make it fun here. Yeah. Totally.
And you hit it on the head. If you don't do it deliberately, if you're not intentional, your people talk about the beer and the ping pong tables. And is that really what you want to define your culture by? Whereas, because we're very intentional about the storytelling, if you talk to our people, you talk to our employees, they'll talk about things like, an early employee walking to the CEO's office and calling him a jerk. Or they'll talk about one of our customers. We share this one a lot. He was a pastor for 20 years. Talk about like living life with purpose, but he recognized he wants to not just help kind of one-to-one, but help a broader audience, help them and do more. And he needed to find new drive for his life. And so he enrolled in our program. He's now selling software. Wow. Amazing, doing amazing work. But he comes to us halfway through the program and says, I have never felt more human.
Okay.
And if you want to talk about a company that's trying to lead with values, work with values, help people do their best, that's a great story. And that's the kind of thing we empower people to talk about. Yeah. So that's our customers. That's way better than talking about ping pong tables and beer. So
exactly. Yeah. And that kind of permeates through the culture of your employees, and they want to share those stories, right? Totally. They're probably going home and telling their friends about, these cool stories and feeling comfortable that they can tell a story like, the guy who came in and called you a jerk, because you're comfortable with that and you're comfortable telling it, and it's not, it's not all off limits. So having a CEO like yourself just makes everything that much better and that much more, makes them more excited to come into work, I'm sure.
It also, the interesting side effect. So if anyone's listening and they're like, I got this, I do that. That's no problem. Joseph, stop preaching to the choir. This is good. Right. What I'd say is, if you get those values baked down really well, you feel very true to your core that these are the values we all agree to work by. What's amazing is that it's very liberating, and it makes it very easy to make the diversity of your team a priority. Because then, Andrew, when we're sitting down and we're interviewing or we're chatting, I'm not trying to assess what craft beer do you like, or what sports team do you like, or, do we want to get together for a barbecue on the weekend? I'm trying to assess, will you kind of work by and live by honesty, inclusion, like all these core values. That allows me now in our interview to not think about culture fit, but to think about culture add. I can say, hey, Andrew's I feel confident that he can live and work by these values. Because our interview questions fit that. Let's actually look now, what other things will Andrew bring if he joins our company that we don't already have?
Yeah.
And if you start interviewing that way, it is incredibly empowering for your team. We end up with a more diverse talent pool, a more diverse team. And when you have diversity of thought in your organization, all the studies show you get better ROI, better performance, better results. And so
sure.
Having your values documented gives you the power to start interviewing for culture add, not just culture fit.
Gotcha. Yeah. And that allows you to fill all the gaps that if you just have, the same people doing the same things and not with no overlap, then you might be able to scale that one thing up because you've got multiple people doing it, but it doesn't allow you to fill a bunch of different gaps and get more, like a wider breadth of work accomplished. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's so cool. So Joseph, through your entrepreneurial journey from the highs to lows, what has been the most difficult thing about being an entrepreneur?
Most difficult thing. It's funny because I knew that question was going to hit, and I always struggle with it. I have a lot of aspiration for those entrepreneurs who have those really, dedicated regimes. They get up early, eat a really healthy breakfast, do some yoga, do the workout. I struggle a lot with that self-care, that idea of really baking in that routine around the way you eat, the way you sleep. I love what I do so much. And, if somebody said, hey, how would you, love to spend, the next hour? You got an extra weekend, you got a long weekend. How would you do it? I'd be working on building my company because I love it. I love building things. But that means that I tend to sacrifice do the extra workout in the morning or, go to bed early and get that sleep. So I struggle. I try to get every moment I can out of life. And what that means is I'm usually burning the candle on both ends. So for me, maintaining that and that, I don't want to say work-life balance because I spend a lot of time with the kids, with family, outside. But that kind of like life and self balance, I think I struggle with a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that's really tough for anybody. For me, like I definitely, what I struggle with that is I get a great routine and I'll be working out every day and I'll be eating right. And that's cool. But it's weird because then at some point I kind of start to feel like a robot.
That's,
and I don't like that feeling. I want to, but in general, I try to be healthy. I try to work out, like, even if I don't, even if I find this perfect routine, I'm like, wow, I'm the healthiest that I think I can be right now. And I'm getting a lot of great work done. And, I'm spending a lot of time with my wife and we're having a lot of fun. It's like, that's all so great. But sometimes it really does. I do feel like part of being human is mixing it up a little bit, not having this, it's like, okay, I figured it out. Now I'm going to do the same thing over and over and over and over again until I die. That's not super exciting either. And I think it's one of the reasons that we're entrepreneurs in the first place is we don't want to do that.
That idea of kind of always kind of playing with your edges, getting outside your comfort zone, pushing that. Like for me, I struggle a lot with the workout routine. But until the pandemic had us all locked down, I was studying aerial silks, so circus arts classes, because every moment was, hey, here's this weird, crazy thing. It's super tough because it's a lot of body weight workout. And if you screw it up, you're going to plummet to the ground. So a little bit of that play with the edges. But
what is it again? What did you say?
Aerial silks. So if you ever go to one of those circus shows where they got the fabric hanging from the ceiling and you're climbing up and lifting them up and they all look way more graceful than I do. No. Damn, it's a tough workout.
I bet. Yeah. I've actually seen a little bit of that. There's a place in downtown Raleigh here, right down the street from where my wife and I used to live. And, we would walk by and, see these people kind of hanging up in the air on these fabric ropes. And it was like, oh man, that's crazy. It's gotta be an insane core workout, which is awesome.
Tough. I mean, like the whole body. And the part that's so interesting is that it's very entrepreneurial in the sense of like, if you can't do the move or you can't figure it out or you can't get up, it's just on you. Mm-hmm. Like you ultimately, you're responsible for it. But what's great about it too is that you get to learn something brand new every time, every class. Okay. You're learning a new move or you're learning a new trick. And every step of the way, it's like, there's that joy of exercise. You're not just feeling like a robot. You get to do something a little different too.
Push your boundaries, do something a little fun. It's not just, push-ups and sit-ups every day that's cool.
Yeah, their idea of conditioning is let's climb up those silks and back down. Do that another 10 times. It's like, great, thank you. I can handle a couple of sit-ups right now.
Exactly. Yeah. At some point, you just got to mix it up, and that doesn't mean that you don't push yourself. You don't try and become healthier and have a better work-life balance and work more efficiently. And you want to maximize all these things for sure. But I do think that it's important not to just get stuck in a routine unless that's your thing. Some people probably really love that. They find what really works for them and they don't really want to push outside of that. But I think when you do push that envelope and, push outside of your comfort zone, that's where you find some really interesting things and you get, and that makes you happy.
There you go, Andrew. That's the challenge for you. Next time you go by that place downtown Raleigh, hop in, try a class, give it a try. Get outside your comfort zone.
Might have to. It's it sounds pretty wild. I don't love heights, but I do love working on my core. So might have to try that.
There you go. You'll feel the workout and then you won't go back. That's how it works out.
Yep. Okay. I love it. So Joseph, as we wrap up this episode, I feel like we could definitely talk for a while here. I've really loved our conversation. I think there's so much that you can offer our audience, but as we wrap up this episode, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would that be?
It'll sound self-serving because we've got a sales training program, but for any entrepreneur, anyone who's got this product and idea, building your sales skills, absolutely. I'd say is the most important. And I don't mean by just trying to do it more. I mean, be intentional, be deliberate, pick up a book, pick up a class, do something, because that is going to make the rest of the business so much easier.
Yeah, I agree. I think when it all comes down to it, in business, sales is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And another thing that gets a bad reputation, I think, is sales. And we've kind of got to get past that and realize that sales it's not about tricking people. It's not about being real slick. It's about giving people what they need when they need it, I think. And it's definitely being able to communicate with other people in an effective way is probably the base of that. And that's just an important thing that we can all get better at. I know I can. I mean, I come from an engineering background, not notorious for being great at sales or communication. So that's something that I'm always trying to work on and get better at. So yeah, I think that's great advice.
I come from the same background and I completely empathize because it is. Yeah. It's a learned skill. It's not about, Hollywood's glorification of the horror stories. It's about finding problems, offering solutions, and doing that consistently every day. And, that feels really good.
Yeah. And kind of getting outside of your comfort zone. I'm not always particularly, as a great example, when Clint and I started this podcast, I wasn't particularly comfortable talking with people with that record button, the record light flashing. It's when that happens, it seems like I'm fine one-on-one with people, and even in a group. I don't love getting up in front of a large group and talking, but yeah, I wasn't comfortable with it. Now, after a little bit over a year of doing it, I'm way more comfortable. So like you said, it's not something that being good at communicating with people and being good at, helping them with something isn't something that you just have or you don't have. It's definitely something you can learn and just get more comfortable with it. If you're putting yourself in, you got to put yourself in some uncomfortable situations, though. That's for sure.
That's it. It's just like trying to get into that daily workout routine. It's all about practice. So absolutely.
Awesome. Well, it's been great to have you on the show, Joseph. I really appreciate you being on here. And I think that's a wrap for this episode.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, Andrew. This was a blast.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening to That Entrepreneur Life. To learn more about what Joseph is working on, check out uvaro.com. Is that the best place for everybody
Absolutely.
to go to? Okay. Awesome. If you like what you heard today, please subscribe to our podcast and don't forget to download our free ebook about the success mindset at thatentrepreneurlife.com. Thanks for your continuing to support what we do as entrepreneurs. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode of That Entrepreneur Life.
Thanks for listening to That Entrepreneur Life podcast. Be sure to visit thatentrepreneurlife.com to join the conversation, access our show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode as we continue to add value. Until next time.